right, so Wes Streeting just decided to throw the political equivalent of a hand grenade into number 10, wrapped in a bow labeled constructive criticism. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, where we dissect the chaos so you don't have to. Today we're talking about the health secretary who apparently woke up and chose violence, or at least chose a new Statesman interview where he basically said the quiet part out loud about Keir Starmer's government. And folks, when a cabinet minister starts using phrases like technocratic approach and maintenance department, you know someone's about to get absolutely roasted without anyone actually saying the words, "my boss is rubbish." So buckle up, because this is the kind of internal labor drama that makes House of Cards look like a team-building exercise. Let's set the scene. Wes Streeting, health secretary extraordinaire, sits down with the New Statesman for what I can only assume he thought would be a nice little chat about the NHS. Instead, he delivers what political analysts are calling a thinly veiled attack on Starmer, which is journalist speak for everyone knows exactly who he's talking about, but nobody's allowed to say it outright. It's like when your mate says, "I'm not naming names, but someone ate my sandwich," while staring directly at you. We all know what's happening here. Streeting admits he's frustrated, and that's putting it mildly, by the way, with how the government is presenting itself. Not the opposition, not the media. The government he's literally part of. That's like being on a football team and telling the press your goalkeeper couldn't catch a cold. Bold strategy, Wes. Let's see if it pays off. Now, here's where it gets properly spicy. Streeting claims Labour has failed to communicate their achievements in office, which, fair enough, is a legitimate criticism. But then he drops this absolute banger of a line, saying they risk presenting themselves as the maintenance department for the country. The maintenance department. Can you imagine? That's not just criticism, that's a verbal assassination dressed up in a metaphor. He's essentially saying Starmer's government is about as exciting as watching paint dry on a radiator you've just had fixed. And honestly, when you look at Labour's polling numbers right now, it's hard to argue he's wrong. The party that won a landslide just months ago is now hemorrhaging support faster than you can say broken promises on university tuition fees. Oh, wait, wrong Labour leader, my bad. But wait, there's more, because Streeting doesn't just leave it at the maintenance department jab. Oh no, he goes full Gordon Ramsay on the political strategy, saying, and I quote, "If someone else comes along and says, well, I've got a maintenance company too, and mine's cheaper, why wouldn't people go, okay, well, we'll give that maintenance team a try?" That's not subtext, folks. That's just text. He's literally explaining why Labour is about to get absolutely demolished at the next election if they don't change course. It's like watching someone explain to their friend why their relationship is failing while their partner is sitting right there. Uncomfortable? Absolutely. Accurate? Probably. Now, before we go any further, let's address the elephant in the room that's wearing a future leadership contender name tag. Last month, Streeting had to deny he was seeking to replace Starmer in Downing Street, which is political speak for "I absolutely want that job, but I'm not supposed to say it yet." And apparently, after he made those denials, there were these mysterious briefings against him from people purporting to be the Prime Minister's allies. Briefings that were, according to literally everyone with functioning brain cells, an attempted warning shot to potential leadership challengers. Like, "Hey Wes, we see you getting ambitious over there, maybe sit down." Except Starmer himself claimed these briefings didn't come from number 10, which is about as believable as saying your dog ate your homework when you're a grown adult working in Parliament. Streeting himself said these briefings sort of came from the blue, and he couldn't understand what on earth they were thinking, which is politician speak for "I know exactly where they came from and I'm absolutely fuming about it." He goes on to say, and this is brilliant, "I could not understand the political strategy of people who purport to be the Prime Minister's allies going out and saying he's fighting for his job. Translation, you're supposed to be helping him, you absolute muppets, and instead you're making him look weak by acknowledging he's in trouble. It's like hiring a PR firm that announces your company is on the verge of bankruptcy as their opening strategy. Genius, truly genius. But here's where Streeting actually makes some valid points amidst all the chaos. He says he's pretty frustrated, there's that word again, because Labour has actually done a huge amount that they promised to do since coming into government. And he's not wrong. They've pushed through legislation, they've made policy changes, they've been busy little bees. The problem, as he correctly identifies, is that none of it is reflected in the polls or in our storytelling. This is the classic Labour problem, isn't it? They could cure cancer, solve climate change, and bring back Woolworths, and they'd still somehow manage to make it sound boring and fail to get credit for it. It's a talent, really, a terrible self-destructive talent. Streeting reckons Labour is selling ourselves short, which is the understatement of the century. It's like having a Ferrari and telling everyone you drive a reliable hatchback. Sure, reliability is great, but people want to know about the Ferrari. They want vision, excitement, a reason to believe things are getting better. Instead, Labour's out here sounding like they're filing quarterly reports to middle management. Where's the passion? Where's the story? Where's the thing that makes people go, yes, this is why I voted for you? Now, let's talk about the future, because Streeting certainly does. He frames the next general election as essentially a battle between Labour and Reform UK, which, given current polling trends, isn't even an exaggeration. Nigel Farage is probably somewhere cackling with delight at the thought of being taken seriously as the main opposition threat. Streeting says, and credit where it's due, this is the right take. We're certainly not going to win by out-reforming reform, because you can't, can you? You can't out-Farage. The man's made a career out of saying increasingly outrageous things while holding a pint. Labour trying to copy that playbook would be like watching your dad try to use TikTok. Painful and doomed to fail. Instead, Streeting argues Labour can take them on and beat them with values-driven Labour arguments and reunite the center and the left, which sounds lovely in theory, but in practice requires a charismatic leader who can actually communicate those values in a way that doesn't make people want to check their phones. And herein lies the problem, because when your own health secretary is going on the record, without naming names, to criticize your technocratic approach and lack of compelling narrative, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement of your communication skills, is it? It's like your best man giving a wedding speech where he says, "I'm sure they'll be very happy together, even though the groom has the personality of a damp sock." Everyone's smiling, but internally screaming. The timing of all this is crucial too. Starmer has been dogged with speculation about his political future as Labour struggles in the polls. Multiple polls now show Labour either level with or behind the Conservatives, which is absolutely wild considering the Tories have spent the last few years imploding in spectacular fashion. It takes a special kind of political ineptitude to be losing to a party that's still recovering from the Liz Truss economic experiment and multiple ethics scandals. And yet, here we are. Labour managed to turn a massive electoral victory into a polling crisis in record time. Speed run any percent world record. What makes Streeting's intervention particularly interesting is that he's not some backbench rebel or perennial troublemaker. He's the health secretary. He's in the cabinet. He sits around that table at number 10 making decisions. And he's decided that the best course of action is basically telling the media, yeah, we're cocking this up. That takes either enormous courage or enormous frustration. Possibly both. It's the political equivalent of being in a band and telling Rolling Stone magazine that your lead singer can't actually sing, but don't worry, we've got a plan to fix it. Bold, potentially career-ending, definitely making for excellent content. The question everyone's asking now is what happens next. Does Starmer respond? Does he reshuffle Streeting out of the cabinet for being too mouthy? Does he actually take the criticism on board and change approach? Or does he do what politicians often do and ignore it while hoping everyone forgets in a week when the next scandal drops? My money's on option 4, but we'll see. What we do know is that this kind of public dissent from senior cabinet ministers is never a good sign for a prime minister. It's the political equivalent of your body sending warning signs before a major health event. Ignore them at your own peril. And let's be honest, Streeting has a point about the values-driven argument. Labour won in 1997 not just because the Tories were exhausted and corrupt, but because Tony Blair, say what you will about him, could sell a vision. He could make people believe in something. Whether you agreed with that something is another matter, but he had charisma and a narrative. Starmer has competence and a nice suit, which is fine for running a law firm, less fine for inspiring a nation. Politics isn't just about doing things, it's about making people feel like those things matter and their lives are improving because of them. Labour's forgotten that, or maybe they never knew it in the first place with this current leadership. The Reform UK threat is real too, by the way. Farage and company are hoovering up disaffected voters from left and right who feel like the traditional parties don't represent them anymore. Labour's response can't just be, well, we're not the Tories, because Reform's whole pitch is we're not either of them. Labour needs to give people a positive reason to vote for them, not just negative reasons to vote against the others. That requires charisma, vision, and communication skills, all things that, according to their own health secretary, are currently in short supply at the top of the party. So where does this leave us? Well, we've got a health secretary who's basically staged the public intervention on their own communication strategy. We've got a prime minister whose allies are so incompetent at helping him, they're actually making things worse. We've got polling numbers that suggest Labour's honeymoon period lasted as long as a British summer. And we've got Reform UK sitting there like a cat watching two dogs fight over a bone, knowing they might just be able to snatch it while everyone's distracted. The next few months are going to be absolutely crucial for Starmer. He either takes his criticism seriously and changes approach, or he continues as is and risks Labour becoming the shortest-serving government since the last shortest-serving government, which, given recent British political history, could be any number of administrations. We've been speed-running prime ministers like we're trying to complete a very depressing video game. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Labour's internal chaos, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post multiple videos daily covering all the political drama you need to stay informed. Drop a comment below telling me whether you think Streeting is right to speak out or if he should have kept quiet and worked internally. And if you reckon Streeting is angling for a leadership bid himself, let me know because honestly, stranger things have happened in British politics. Until next time, this has been UK Political Insight, reminding you that in Westminster, today's loyal cabinet minister is tomorrow's leadership challenger and nobody's job is ever truly safe.